I am starting to become a proponent of it's a personal experience. Who's going to argue with me? If I don't care how it looks, I don't care how it sounds to other people. If I realize I'm enlightened, why would it? I'm not how enlightened is it for me to get validation from others? You think I'm enlightened, right?
Yeah.
It's you. It's you, man.
That's
or point. Woman or child.
Yeah.
It's you.
All right, mystics and truth seekers, James and Justin here again with another reaction video. And this one we are going to look at a video done by Psych Simplified. It is entitled The Mystical Stages of Ego Death / Dark Night of the Soul.
I'm excited.
Yeah, so this is kind of a fascinating one.
Sounds intense and interesting.
Yeah, so good title. So yeah, I guess we'll just get into it.
The Mystical Stages of Ego Death. Dark Night of the Soul. The ego forces us to see things in different ways, that some things are right and others are wrong. But some people have taught themselves to live beyond this artificial boundary. These people have experienced ego death. Ego death is not truly a death because the ego is always part of us. It's the suppression of the ego's power over us. In ego death, we evolve beyond the chains of our ego, learning to control our lives without its influence. Ego death does not happen suddenly. It takes time and moves from one stage to another. Here are 7 stages of ego death.
Okay, I think it should be said right off the bat, though, is that I think we are going to come back to this topic again of ego and Dark Night of the Soul, because I think there are many perspectives on this, that it's not the same descriptor isn't used by everyone. So we will address this again, and then let us know also in the comments if you have other like teachers, whether they're spiritual or just psychological analyzers. Let us know so we can go through that material and come up with some other videos on that. But we'll let this continue.
If you're new to this channel, kindly subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon if you haven't.
1. Spiritual Awakening. The first step to killing the ego is the spiritual awakening. This stage is preceded by the painful experience of the urge to discover more about ourselves and life. At this stage, we decide to leave behind everything that we usually do and begin to question our existence in the world. During this stage, we start to feel that there's a void in our life that we're finding hard to fill. 2. The Dark Night. This is considered the most challenging part of ego death because this is the stage where we're at our lowest. Everything at this point feels so confusing and painful. Many people lose it during this stage and allow the stage to consume them because it's always very challenging. At this stage, we find ourselves in complete despair, and we know that something just happened, but we cannot understand or know what that thing is. Some people become isolated from other people, and even to themselves at this stage. 3.
I think isolated to others and themselves.
Yeah, maybe they're, by saying isolated to themselves, it showed someone on a phone, maybe using constant distraction to like kind of like pull them away from thinking and stuff like that. And I don't know, just in the first, like, maybe it's just me, but I'm like, okay, have I experienced this? Or I don't know if you're going through any of that too, but I'm sure people who are going to watch this are going to be like, have I gone through that?
Have I gone through multiple of these?
Yeah.
You know, like, because, you know, I don't think it's that uncommon for people to be like, oh yeah, I've been through a dark night of the soul, all right. It's always darkest before the dawn, but then everything turned around. It's like, but did everything turn around to the event, the big enlightenment of your life?
Yeah.
Did it turn around to that, or did you just re-enter back into egoism, you know? And are there people that are going to be honestly able to talk about that? And are there going to be people that are shysters that are like, you need more teaching?
Yeah.
Subscribe here
for
more
or
teaching.
Maybe, like you said, maybe there are levels to this. Like you have like a micro night of the soul, like Dark Night of the Soul, and then it gets intense as phases, as you say, you build up a tolerance for truth and you mature and you're like, oh, this is something that I've been suppressing. I haven't really dealt with this. Because what I see going on here is a bit of an existential crisis. That person sitting at the table having a hard time. I would imagine that this dawns on someone who's had a certain way of thinking about something for a long period of time, and then now the reality isn't able to cope with that, with, it might not be what they thought it was. And that can be, very hard to take.
I'm becoming a big proponent of it's up to you. It's up to you in the end. It's up to your own experience and your own conclusions. And watch how that makes people who really like to control other people feel. No, it isn't. I'll tell you when you're enlightened.
Yeah.
You didn't follow I went and did a different way. I did so many psychedelics, I'm fucking enlightened, bitch. No, that's not how. Or I went and studied in an ashram for 10 years. I get the title of enlightened. Well, I don't give a shit. I got enlightened watching The Simpsons, bitch. No, that's fucking, don't listen to these guys. They're evil. They're saying things. I didn't say that's how you do it. I said, I am starting to become a proponent of it's a personal experience. Who's going to argue with me? If I don't care how it looks. I don't care how it sounds to other people. If I realize I'm enlightened, why would it... I'm not how enlightened is it for me to get validation from others? You think I'm enlightened, right?
Yeah.
It's you. It's you, man.
That's
Or point. Woman or child. It's you.
Yeah. You probably don't need validation from anyone.
The search. Because of the pain we feel during the dark night stage, we are gradually led to the search stage. At this point, we begin to try and fill the void we're feeling with anything that we feel might help out. At this point, some people go into drugs, womanizing, alcoholism, and so many other things, believing that this will help them fill the void. Some also experiment with the mystical arts, soothsaying, energy healing, and practices that emphasize on connecting the mind, body, and soul. But at the end, we can branch out with our spirituality beyond the regular mainstream religions to understand exactly what we're feeling. 4. Sight of illumination. After all the search and trials of different ideologies to know what we're feeling, there's always a point of breakthrough where we experience our first sight of illumination. This is the point where we check back on our true selves during the search and become scared of the experience. This fear can make some people stop their search, while also making others hunger to know more. 5. Soul development. At this stage, our soul begins to develop. We begin to understand the type of spiritual practices that work for us and those that do not. As we know these practices, we begin to focus more on the ones that improve our patience, discipline, and focus most successfully. Soul development does not happen very fast. It takes time, which differs from individual to individual. 6. The concession. This is the point where we let go. At this point, we're used to our soul and ego, and we can surrender everything that's not part of our true nature. Everything created by our ego is left to go away, and only the things created by our true self are allowed to stay. Things that hold us back or limit us are also allowed to go. What makes this stage most effective is the ability to trust what we do not know and let go of all the fears our ego brings to us. 7. Mindfulness. This is where we call the end of the page. At this point, we've searched, developed, and conceded, and therefore we've advanced more than our ego. We now understand what we were searching for initially and know the things that are illusions. We know the truth now, that the ego is something we should use only when we need it. We now realize that we're much greater than we thought.
Well, I really feel like that is a repeating cycle. And I think going back to what we were talking about earlier about it happening in stages, I feel like I've gone through that process many times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Certain levels.
Yeah, I think that's common for people to go through some of those things. There's something that really resonates with the term "dark night of the soul." It's like people know what you mean, And maybe I haven't achieved what other people have, and that there's people that are like, "Oh, you would be more careful with what you're saying if you really knew, buddy."
Yeah,
and you're free to do that. What was I going to say? There was a show called Last Man on Earth.
Yeah.
And it's just a show. It's a funny show. And that show was part of a big turning point for me in my life. I was very isolated. I was kind of by myself. And from a TV show about a guy who was the last person on Earth and his dealings with finding other humans and how it was a big purge of his shitty characteristics into something new, like a better man.
Yeah.
It shifted me from a show. So I think that, you know, sometimes if you read into Zen Buddhism, there's all kinds of crazy stories. Like the person caught a glimpse of this, or one word was said to him and he was spontaneously enlightened. I think that you can be enlightened from all sorts of different things in this magical reality.
Yeah.
Songs,
I agree.
nature, your own conclusions, all these things, right?
Yeah.
And I do think there are people that friggin' hate that narrative. Don't you start talking like that. We got a system to uphold here.
Yes, well, some people, those are the same people that kind of like talk about like finances or like things outside of spirituality. They have like a path of like, I did it the hard way, I did it that way. And then they see someone who does it, you know, falls into something better than they, you know, have. And they're like, they didn't do it the right way, I did it the right way. How come, you know, they get to have all that when, you know, they cheated? No.
What are we doing other than juggling, man? It's a big balancing act. Trust yourself, trust others. Don't trust everything yourself has to say, and don't necessarily trust others. You got to do it all. You got to do it all, man. You're manifesting the universe here. That's no easy feat.
Well, yeah, there was a lot in there, and I'm sure we are going to come back to these topics again. You let us know in the comments what you think about this subject, about this stages of growth, ego, death, dark night of the soul. And if you like this video, don't forget to smash the like button, share this with a friend, and everybody, until next time, stay spiritual.